It's important to be able to identify trends and describe trends, and these can be got from graphs or from tables. Generally from graphs, but we'll have a look at both methods of doing it. So the first question is, what is a trend? And it's a general direction. It's a way something is moving, but not an exact way. A general direction in which something is developing or changing. And there are many different kinds of trends. For example, there are fashion trends. But what we're interested in is mathematical trends or statistical trends, and these are quite often described in two main ways, and that is either they're positive, which means going up or increasing, or negative, going down or increasing. And of course there's a third one, which is not going up or down, which is a neutral trend. So trends are not exact, but they are general. Now, this is important to note when we're looking at a graph. So let's have a look at an example. So this is a graph of Auckland house price growth, a computer-generated graph of the internet from interest.co.nz, and it's showing Auckland house prices. And specifically, when we look up here at the title, it's always important to read the title, and you'll see it's median, which you know is the middle house price. So that's the middle house price in the month compared with the same month in the previous year. And it says there percentage, which means percentage changed. Over here on the right axis, you'll see that you've got some percentage marks, and this line here is a 0% change line. And the actual prices are plotted with the red line here. So the question is, what's the trend? And if I was to just quickly eyeball, we wouldn't be interested in this little peak here or this little trough, these little ups and downs of interest. What's the overall trend over that sort of 3-year period? So if I put what I think the trend is in, it will go something like that line there. So when you have a look at that line, you'll see it goes from maybe about -0.5% up to, which is down there, up to about 14% up there. So there's the graph, and the question is, how do you then describe the trend? And it is important to describe the trend precisely with good, strong mathematical language. So the first thing I'd say is this is an increasing or a positive trend. It's not necessary to say both, but it doesn't hurt. And then I say the annual percentage change in median house prices increases from about -0.5% in September 2010 to 14% in March 2013. So that's the first trend. So let's have a look. What's it like in Palmerston North when we have a look here at the graph? And this is not so obvious. It's not very obvious at all, but we'll give a go. And this is the Manawatu area. Median house price in the month in Manawatu compared with the same month a year ago. So the same information. Much harder to pick a trend, but if we have a look up here, you'll see that it's higher here and lower here. So, and it's sort of up and down in the middle, but nothing really very certain's happening. So what we need to do is I'm gonna pick a trend that starts here and goes down a little bit to here. So let's put that in, and there's your trend line, or what we're eyeballing the trend line, and you'll see that that is a decreasing trend or negative trend, but not very decreasing or negative. And if we describe it precisely, it's a slightly decreasing or negative trend. The percentage increase in median house prices decreases from about 2% in September to 0% in March 2013. And we probably instead we could have said the percentage change rather than percentage increase, but that's actually what the graph's sort of referring to. It's talking about house price growth, but in fact that's not growing at all. So that's the second graph. So that kind of precision is required in your answers. Let's have a look at another example. This is a different example for the Smith's Milk Farm. and on the left this has no graph, but the question is, can you pick the trend? And just looking at the table, and sometimes you can, and this is an example where you can pick the trend, because you have a look here, the year goes from 2007 here all the way down to 2013, so they're 2, 4, 6, 7 years. And over here there's the production of milk in litres, and you'll see 198,000 in the first year and 202,000 in the second, and so on. And you'll see that each year it's just going up. Sometimes it goes up by quite a bit here. It's gone up by around 18,000. But here it's not going up. But nonetheless, each year it is going up. So we can actually describe that trend without a graph. And this is an increasing or positive trend. Milk production increases from 198,000 litres in 2007 to 234,000 litres in 2013. But what if we couldn't? What if we couldn't see that trend? What should we do? And the answer is we should probably draw a graph, and in this case with what we call time series with time along the bottom, we should probably draw a time series graph. So that's exactly what we're going to do. So let's have a look here. What I need to draw the graph is I need a axis at the bottom, and I've already marked that out, and I also need a vertical axis up here, and I've put some marks on that as well. It's really important that we label axis, so I'm going to put the year, and you'll always find in all of these graphs time goes on the bottom, and I'm going to place the years on the axis. Nothing all the way from 2007 to 2013, nothing complicated here. The vertical axis is a little bit more complicated. So I'm going to start by labelling that vertical axis, and you'll note I've put thousands here, okay, because really it's quite difficult to read a graph when you have the full number like 198,000 or 234,000, so we tend to shorten the numbers and just count. It's not wrong to put the whole number in though. And then the question is, what scale do I put up the graph here? Now this is a much trickier question than it is for doing the years. So what I need to look at is the low number and the high number, and when I'm deciding on my scale I actually just about need to forget what's in between, because sometimes people put these numbers on the axis but they should never go there. We need to have a nice tidy axis, and I'm going to do it in 5,000 lots. And if you have a look here, 198,000, what's the number just below that that sort of is a nice tidy number, and it's 195,000. And look at this number here, it's 234,000. Well, the next tidy number up is 235. So I'm going to run my scale from 198 to 235, 195 to 235. So you see up there, and I don't have the full number. You see 198, 190 corresponds to the 195 down here, and 234, a bit more than that is 235, and we just say thousands in the end. So it goes from 195 to 235,000. Okay, so sometimes deciding on those scales can be a little tricky. And the most important thing is that none of these numbers in the middle actually appear here. So you can go down and check. Well, the 220 does, but that's just by chance. The 202 doesn't, the 223 doesn't, and so on. If you don't do that, the graph's still going to look right, but it'll be wrong. It'll still slope the same way, but it won't be exactly the same. So one final little couple of things you've got to do with this is down here we need to indicate that this graph actually could go all the way down to 0, but we've decided not to, because you can imagine how difficult it would be to put all of those numbers down there and how much space it would take. So we put a little break in here, okay, like that, and we also need a title for the graph. And this is a graph of Smith's Farms milk production, which is it's going to be a line graph. So what we now do is we choose each of the numbers. So I'm going to plot 198 and 2007, and you'll see there it's that corresponds with 2007 and the roughly 198 up here. And the next one is 2008, which is there, and 202, which is there, and you'll see that it corresponds. This is not perfectly accurate, but it's close enough. Then 2009 and 220, which would be somewhere up about here. So I'll plot that there. And then 2010 and 223, so I go to 2010 and up to around 223, which is there. And then I go to 2011, which is there, and match it up with around 224, 225, which is there. So that one there corresponds to that there and that there. And then I just finish it off with 2012 and 2013, which is there. So there, and it's almost at 235, but not quite. We would now link up all the dots, but we wouldn't link it with the axis here, because actually it doesn't start at the axis, it starts at 2007. So we just plot all of those points like that, and you've now got a line, but it's not a trend, but it should show a trend, and if I was to match that with a trend line, it would look something like that. And I don't need to change what I wrote before. This is still an increasing or positive trend. Milk production increases from 198,000 litres in 2007 to 234, 250 in 2013. So that's a few little tips about identifying trends. They're generally increasing, decreasing, or neutral, and it's important to put some numbers in and explain how the increases happen. So you need to refer always to the numbers.